I confess that I have not always been the best at packing. But after a year of essentially living out of a suitcase and always being away from home, I found ways to pack things to make trips feel more cozy based off of what I bring with. A little bit of background, my first year of college, or out of college, I wasn't ready yet to apply to med school or grad school. So I applied for a flight attendant job, was like the first thing that came up, and I had always traveled a lot as a kid. I kind of knew a lot of the rules. I was like, I could do that. So I applied. And because of that, I basically spent an entire year on a plane. I was Chicago based, but I was rarely in the city. It was hard to put down roots and make friends because my schedule was constantly changing. I took as many 4-day trips as possible because that's what paid the most. Towards the end, I started realizing that for me, I wanted something with a little bit more consistency, and I wanted to be able to create and contribute more value to something I cared a little bit more about. I have friends who are still flight attendants, and they are amazing at it, and I love it for them. They are so well suited for it. It just wasn't for me, and that's okay. We live and we learn. However, I did learn quite a bit about how to make a hotel feel more like home, especially when you're sleeping in a new place every night and never have that stability. So, how do I pack as a former flight attendant? Let's start with a suitcase. A lot of people online will try to sell you this suitcase that flight attendants love. Personally, I think it's all hogwash. I've tested a lot of different suitcases over the years. I've fallen victim to some of the ads over the years, and I think it honestly all comes down to personal preference. What I've learned is that I like pieces of all of these different suitcases I've tried, so I tend to have to find one that fits the needs for the trip rather than saying this one suitcase is the end-all be-all, which is the case for my most recent suitcase purchase. This is going to be a carry-on. I needed to have a laptop compartment for this specific trip I'm about to go on, so that is what drove this purchase. It's just an inexpensive one off of Amazon. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get a good quality suitcase. I've purchased from this brand before. They come in cute colors. It's sturdy enough. It gets the job done. You kind of have to figure out what works well for you, which features you prefer, and what you're willing to spend. Once you have that kind of figured out, it's a lot easier to make a suitcase decision. As much as you can, try to avoid the ads online because they get all of us. There's no perfect suitcase out there, at least not that I've found yet. If you have found one, please let me know. Comment it down below. I'd love to check it out and see if it's one I've already tried, or maybe there's something I'm missing and I need to try a new one. Future editing me who just got her travel shots, you should do that if you are traveling to a country. Check with your primary care physician. I am going to add links into my description. I realized throughout the course of this video that I mentioned a lot of products. I'm just going to add links to make it easier for you to find. I did sign up for the Amazon, I want to say they call it the Associate Program. So if you do purchase through one of those links, I will get a small kickback. You do not need to purchase through those links. I just wanted to give examples and make it easy for those who needed it. This next portion, I'm going to break into a few different categories. We're going to go with essentials, things you just need to have on every trip, clothes and how I approach organizing and packing my clothing for trips, toiletries, anything health related, and then comfort. These are those extra pieces that I think make a trip feel more cozy, since that's something I heavily prioritize. So first up, essentials. These are things you just need to get by getting to another country or traveling somewhere. So think phone, chargers, wallet, passport. I carry mine around in a slightly bigger bag. I'm gonna cover my world entry card, but you need to have these with you. I usually bring a pen as well because a lot of forms you have to fill out physically. So I'd usually have a pen in here with my passport. Within here I also have old baggage claim stubs. Looks like I have leftover money, which is good. I can use that on this next trip. But somewhere to keep your passport on you, because you will need it in the cabin on the plane with you as you enter a new country, especially if you're traveling internationally. These are my favorite phone chargers. I have 2 of them now. But I like it because I don't have to remember another cord. I will forget cords. It charges just by plugging directly into the wall. They are lifesavers for me. They have different connector ports on the side. This one's stuck. But these are by far my favorite portable phone chargers. And then especially if you're traveling internationally, you need to look up whether you need converters or adapters. Those are two different things. Make sure you have what you need. These are pretty easy to find online. This is one I've used. I have a couple other versions. This one converts the voltage to the right amount so that I do not blow up my computer or the hotel room. Next, on to clothes. This can go one or two ways. I usually tend to overpack and have too much. However, there have been a couple work trips within the past year where I have underpacked by at least a day. So for me, what I have found that has worked is to stick with a neutral color palette so that I can mix and match clothes and potentially rewear things if I need to. Layer things is incredibly important when you don't always know what the weather's going to be like in a foreign country or in a new place. So I usually shoot for neutrals because then I have more options, especially if I've forgotten something or if I don't have enough of something. It's a lot easier than to pick something up at a store somewhere if it's a neutral tone. I do like to use packing cubes. I know that that's kind of hit or miss depending on the individual you talk to. I really like them. It helps keep me organized. I have a few different sizes. They're all in this neutral color for me because I tend to have a beige green aesthetic going on in my life, and that is what I have for literally everything. But definitely do that. I have an app that I will include maybe a short video or a screenshot of here called Indyx, Indyx. I like that app a lot. It's women created. I've spoken about it before on my other social medias. This is not in any way endorsed. I just really like it as a closet documentation app. It helps me pack, helps me kind of look at different outfit combinations and put things together that I might not have otherwise, but I use this the most when I am traveling. Next category is toiletries. I have a crazy skincare routine that we are not going to get into for this video, that I usually try to reduce at least by a step or two so I don't have to carry as much. My goal is usually to reduce my liquids that I have to take with as much as possible, because if I have to carry on a bag, it's just so limited and I want to narrow it down to just my priorities. So makeup remover, I will shift to wipes instead of using like a bottle of makeup remover. I'll cut out a couple steps like toner. I don't really need toner, it's just kind of nice to have. Things like that, where if I can pare it down, I'll pare it down. I do have a very specific brand that I prefer for carrying toiletries. So I like Cadence. It's these hexagonal? They're like magnetic little cases. I'm sure you've seen ads for them online. I personally really like these. Again, I think these are very much so up to the individual who is traveling and what works for them. I have tried so many different toiletry holder items. These are the only ones that I've ever repeated and used more than once. They're easier for me to clean. I like that the tops are magnetic. You can switch out labels if you need. They actually hold quite a bit. I saw some reviews online of people saying that they don't hold that much, but these to me are just so much easier to clean. The spaces are bigger. I will say these are a little heavier and bulkier than others that I have used in the past. But again, for me, it's worth the trade-off knowing I will reuse these versus having a cabinet full of other random, really cheap ones that I've bought in the past. I did also order for my upcoming trip. They have like a parcel bag now that they didn't have when I originally ordered my Cadence. I want to call them cubes, but they're not cubes. The parcel is like a cube shape, I guess. That I want to test out because again, visually they really work for me in my brain. So I'm hoping the parcel will also work for me in my brain and just be, again, one of those aesthetic things that I can return to over and over again. It looks like it's easier to clean, which is a big deal for me. If it's hard to clean, I just won't. And then that's a waste and it's not great either. Another toiletry must-have that I take with for every single trip is a travel mirror. I got this at a Daiso in Japan one year, but I love this because it's so thin and little, but it's big enough that I can use it for whatever I need, but it's still thin, easily packable. A lot of the times when you go to a hotel, or I like to stay in Airbnbs, it's really hard to find a mirror, especially if you're traveling with other people and there's limited bathroom time. So this is like a non-negotiable toiletry essential that I have to take with. The next section is health, and this one is another non-negotiable to me: compression socks. You need these if you are on any flight that is lasting longer than like 5 hours. At least I do. They help prevent a whole host of different health issues, reducing swelling. They are just life-changing for me. I know they feel a little silly to walk around in, but it is so worth it, especially as I've started to get a little bit older. I can't go without compression socks, especially on these big over-ocean flights. So, priority number one. Another big health thing for me is I always fly with a mask still to this day. I know some people might look at me weird. I don't care. I want to be healthy when I get where I'm going, and I want to have fun, and I can't do that if I'm sick from somebody else coughing on a plane who isn't wearing a mask. So this is another non-negotiable for me. In that same vein, I bring all of the medications that might be harder to find in another country. You should check to make sure you're not taking anything illegal into a country. I have on occasion just not known. So I don't advise that. If you can, if you remember, look it up in advance, but cold and flu meds are really hard to find in other countries. So this has saved me on more than one occasion when I have gotten really sick, but I had a stash, so I didn't absolutely tank my entire vacation. Allergy pills. These are motion sickness pills. Stomach issues are another really good one to take with. Anything you could think of that you might possibly need that you will not have easy access to a pharmacy for, bring them with. Same with prescriptions. Do not forget your prescriptions. That's probably the most important. I do like to take Band-Aids and other small first aid things because blisters happen. Just make sure you're prepared. I do have cough drops. Liquid IV is another really good thing to take with because when you travel, when you fly, you get very dehydrated. So stay hydrated, my friends. I also, whenever I'm traveling, travel with hand sanitizer. That's another good one, both for the plane and then if you're just walking around and you need to clean your hands, hand sanitizer. Alcohol wipes are another really good health thing to take with you onto a plane and just also on your trip. They're nice to have. But if you have them with you on the plane, you can wipe down your tray table and the headrest are probably the two places I would highly recommend. I guess also armrests, but especially your headrest, wipe that down. Tray tables are nice to wipe down and armrests are nice to wipe down as well. I think a lot of that gets cleaned daily, if not more frequently than that, but you'd be surprised what seats get cleaned or how little seats get cleaned. The last somewhat health-related thing that will kind of transition me into the comfort stuff is period preparedness. For women, you gotta do it. I got these bags a few years ago. They're basically just diaper bags, but they are really nice because they're waterproof. So depending on how you manage your time of the month, parts of mine I will use period underwear, and in which case sometimes I have quick access to a washer and dryer, sometimes I don't. These work wonders for just being able to fold them up, zip up the bag, and then I don't have to worry about it until I get home. Ideally, I would wash them sooner than that, but sometimes you can't when you travel, so this is how I take care of that for me. So on to the comfort, more fun, bougie things that I personally do to feel more comfortable when I travel and cozy when I travel. The first one being a heating pad. So I actually picked this one up on a trip because that time of the month started while I was on a trip. It happened like 5 times after that, so this came in handy anytime I'm traveling within the US. This is the one that comes with. It is now my new favorite heating pad because it's also massive. And it's not that ugly blue color. For whatever reason, I love this one. I don't know why all of them are blue. However, when you travel internationally, plugs are different. So for this upcoming trip, I don't want to have to worry about plugging that in if I'm charging other things and only having a limited number of plugs. So I got this little guy because I will also use this at home even after I'm on the trip. But it's just a heating pad, a microwavable one. Anytime I've traveled to Japan, South Korea, anywhere I've gone so far, for the most part, especially if I'm in an Airbnb, but hotels will also have them, microwaves are available. So this seems easier to me than trying to figure out the plug situation. It is a little heavier, so we'll see how that goes this time, but some form of heating, warming device is a must for me. Another thing that I won't travel without now, or if I do, I quickly buy them once I'm in the new location, slippers. So these I picked up at Primark because I had forgotten my slippers in Edinburgh. I couldn't live without them. The floors were cold. It was cold in Edinburgh. It was last autumn. Normally I pick these up in like Japan because I love Japanese slippers. You can get them very cheap online. You don't need to get them somewhere fancy. I think even these at Primark were maybe $5, maybe. It's the small little things that you don't think about that really can elevate your experience in a hotel, because most hotels are not providing slippers. If you're at an Airbnb, you're not gonna have slippers. Other comfy clothes are something I always bring with. I will always have at least one sweatshirt with me because I need to have something oversized and comfy. I'm very particular about my pajamas. Again, this is incredibly bougie. I will only sleep now in Lunya pajamas. They're body temperature regulating because I really struggle with that. I need to be able to, one, feel free, which I do in their tank top set, and I need to be able to stay cool. So I have a couple different pairs of those pajamas and I just rotate through those. If I'm on a trip, I obviously only take one pair with me, but I can't live without my overly expensive fancy pajamas. Other extra cozy things that you can do to just take your trip to the next level. I always bring some form of face mask or eye mask with me. It again just helps your trip feel even more luxurious and cozy because you're taking care of yourself. So even if I'm traveling for work, these come with, because it again helps me feel like I'm taking care of myself, helps me feel more like I'm at home, or it can even elevate a trip if this is not something I do regularly, to make me feel like I am having a luxurious experience in a hotel room rather than I'm dreading being here for work. I also do take like pimple patches and stuff, but that's more of like a health thing than a cozy thing, in my opinion. If I would take a stuffed animal with me on every trip. I have noticed that I typically tend to buy stuffed animals on most trips, which is not a great thing, but it's a thing that happens. So I don't know if you can even see them in this video, but I do have a couple up on my bed. I love stuffed animals. Again, it's that need to be comfortable when I'm traveling, and that just gives me one more thing cozy to hang on to. Ooh, some other cozy things to bring with, especially if you're on the plane. An eye mask. I don't have mine physically up here to show you, but invest in a good eye mask. There are some that are elevated so that they don't press on your eyes. If you don't like that pressure, I highly recommend finding some of those. I usually travel with earplugs, soft earplugs. Most planes that I've been on have also provided those, but just in case, I like to have my own with me. They do have some really cool things you can get online to help make long haul flights, especially in economy, more comfortable. I have purchased like a foot hammock swing thing in the past that you hook over your food tray. That usually works. I do really like that because any amount of elevation you can give of your feet is helpful. I have found though that sometimes the planes don't have the right food table, or like the table doesn't have enough clearance to hook that over well. And in those cases, it's kind of unfortunate because it just doesn't do what it needs to do. It won't stay there. So if you can figure out a way to have at least 2 seats to yourself, I usually try to aim for a row by myself, but if you can find at least 2 seats to yourself, that's good. I also have this seat back pocket organizer, which is really nice because inside the seat pockets can get really dirty and gross. People shove crap in there all the time. That's not as easy to clean for the cleaning crews that come through. So I like this thing because it's just a very thin, I'll include a picture of it. It's just this very thin folding thing that one side slides into the seat back pocket. The other side has like 3 or 4 different pockets where you can stick like a tablet, headphones, your drink. Like you can just stick everything in there, and I have used that plenty of times. On 1 or 2 occasions I have found that the seat back pockets were not wide enough to fit it, and that was disappointing because I thought it was a standard size, so apparently those seats were more narrow. Sound canceling headphones are another must for me. I usually bring my own because unless you are fortunate enough to travel first class, and only some planes in first class will provide sound canceling headphones, those are things that I really want to have because I will sometimes pre-download YouTube videos. Maybe it's ASMR, maybe it's soothing music, and listen to that while I try to sleep or at least rest on a plane. Because I like to have those sound canceling headphones too, I will bring this little AirFly converter from the seat back to my headphones so that I don't have to use the ones provided by the plane. This cuts out so much sound for me when I use my headphones. Usually just makes me feel better, I guess, once I land, that my hearing is not muffled. The final thing I think I would say from a comfort item standpoint, specifically for when you're on a long haul flight on a plane operating out of just one bag, some form of pillow. I have really struggled to find a pillow, like a headrest pillow that works for me. They have to be really tall. I have kind of a weirdly long neck. It might not look like that in this video, but if it's not really tall, my head still like moves and flops around. I like it when the back is flat on the pillows because otherwise it's pushing my head forward more. I don't know. I have not found a great solution for that. So if somebody has found a really awesome neck pillow, maybe share that in the comments as well. I've just finally given up. I have a travel one from Lunia as well that I think I got as part of a program that I could use, or part of like a discount thing that they had going that I could use for hotels, Airbnbs as well, because it's nice enough that I can use it for wherever. And then I have that nicer silk pillowcase on it to help prevent breakouts and other things that might happen sleeping on weird new blankets and pillows. Yeah, so that's another bougie cozy thing. So my last section is pro tips that I have learned over countless years, both as a flight attendant and just as a frequent traveler. First, instant access items. So these are items that you will need to access while you're in a plane, but you might not want to have your carry-on bag close to you. So what I have done, or what I have found works well for me, is I have like a little crossbody bag, I think it's a Bagoo bag, that I try to stick anything I might want mid-flight in, so that once I take, it's stuffed into a backpack with all of the stuff pre-filled into it. Once I get on the plane, I can just pull that out, hook it over me, slide my backpack either under the seat or put it up above me, and then I don't have to really access my backpack unless I want like extra food out of it. But I will usually have snacks in this bag as well. Something bigger. It just frees up space for me, and then I'm not scrambling through a large backpack either when it comes time to land and we have to fill out documents. It's all right here on my person. It just makes me feel better. So that's my pro tip number 1. Keep your instant access stuff in another bag within your carry-on, so it's just one quick grab and then you're set. My second pro tip, I usually like to check bags as frequently as possible. I have a credit card that lets me do this for free on most of the flights that I will fly out of. Not everyone has that, but the reason why I like to do this, and I'll include a visual of what I'm trying to explain, is that if I just check one bag each way, that saves me a lot of money. So I will take my little carry-on and place it into a larger suitcase. So then I have 2 bags when I arrive where I'm going. Then if I shop or pick up stuff or want to expand my suitcases, I can take my little carry-on out that originally had all of my clothes and like normal things packed into it, have a whole second suitcase for purchases, fun stuff, readjust how I want things laid out between the two, still just check the one larger bag under the plane on the way back, and then I have my carry-on in my backpack for the plane back home. So this has saved me a lot of money. There was one year, my very first time I went to Japan, I want to say this was back in 2017. I didn't do this, and I didn't have a lot of money then, but I was so excited to be there. I wasn't sure if I'd ever get back. I shopped so much at Daiso, Pokemon Center, all of the fun places I had always seen and wanted to go but never had. And what I ended up having to do, because I didn't have another suitcase, didn't realize how cheap it would be to get another suitcase, and didn't realize how cheap it was to check suitcases, I shipped it all back to the US, which was a lot more expensive than just purchasing another suitcase in Japan and flying home with 2 suitcases. So worst case also, if you don't take another one with you, still only take a carry-on size suitcase with you so you can buy a larger suitcase there. It just saves you money in the long run, especially now. I don't know how that would work with like tariffs and stuff. Do you get tariffed if you mail your own stuff to you? The US is a mess. I mentioned this earlier in the video, but Indyx is a lifesaver for me when it comes to packing for a trip. So this is pro tip, I think, number 3. Use Indyx or some closet management app to map out your planned outfits for the trip so you know what to pack. Indyx has this really cool feature where I can like design outfits or lay out outfits within the app, add it to a calendar, and also add it to like a folder. So if I add it to a specific travel folder, you can look at what items you need to pack. So it doesn't tell you like how many times, it just says, hey, you have these 6 outfits. This belt is in a couple of them. You need this one belt, this one pair of pants, these 3 shirts, whatever. It just pulls it all out into a packing list for you, and it is such a nice feature. I highly recommend that app. Again, not sponsored. I just like the app. I think there are more features you have to pay for now than when I originally signed up for it. I still think it's worth it. It's an awesome app. Probably the most important pro tip, I think this is number 4, be nice to your flight attendants. There are some good ones and some bad ones, just like any other career out there, but it costs you nothing to be nice. And if you're kind, it can really only benefit you. I know for me, if someone was nice to me, I was more likely to be nicer back to them. I actually don't think I was ever mean to anyone, but still, it just puts people in a better mindset if you are nice to them. I try to just remind people, but myself especially, literally every single person who's traveling is stressed. Your body is going under stress. You're worried about stressing and getting to places on time. So are the flight attendants. I think people forget about that quite a bit. Their bodies are constantly going through those altitude changes. It's a lot of stress on the body. They also want to get home at the end of the day to their families. So if you get stuck somewhere or there's delays, they are stuck in that with you. So just try to think about it from that perspective of they are human beings who just want to get to the destination as well, and they have just as much control over whether or not the plane gets there as you do. And then just a reminder, they're there for your safety, so treat them with respect. This is pro tip 5.5, 4.5, I don't know what we're on. But like a half step to the last one. When I was a flight attendant, we had to tip our shuttle drivers to and from hotels who helped us handle bags. So if you want to be really nice to your flight attendants and give them an extra thank you, it would have done wonders for me if anybody had ever given me like a little thank you note or a little gift bag with $1 bills and like some chocolate or some small snack or just something. That recognition would have done wonders for everybody on the plane. It's a very thankless job, so even just getting recognized is nice. Again, that point's optional, but I think that's like an insider pro tip. If you do that for your flight attendants, I would imagine at least some of them are going to treat you very well in return. Also, final pro tip, be kind to your gate agents. They deal with a lot of stuff, and they have even fewer protections than flight attendants do. So I guess my last pro tips are just be nice to people, be kind. Everyone's stressed. Everyone's just trying to make it through the day. Nobody wants to block you from where you're going. If that situation happens, I hope it doesn't. But everyone just wants everyone to get where they need to be safely. And that's typically how I approach packing. It's obviously grown over the years as I have gotten a little more stable, but all of that learning started way back when I was a flight attendant. What surprised you the most? What are some of your travel essentials? I would love to know. Comment them down below. And then stay tuned. I am going on a really fun trip, and I will post content from that soon. Have a good week. See you in the next one.